What's up, guys? My camera just died, and so I'm re-recording all of this. Kind of bummed out because I feel like it went pretty good. But welcome back to the channel. It's episode 5 of the OBS build. It's going to be all about the gauge install. I don't feel like rambling on because doing it twice kind of sucks, but I want to let you guys know what I'm doing. So isspro sent me a bunch of gauges, and I'm gonna put them in. They sent me the gauge pod, and before I get into the gauge pod, I started way earlier today. I go out there, started my truck, let it idle. I haven't ran it in a couple weeks, and come in here, start doing what I'm doing. 5 minutes later, I go out there, there's fucking cooling everywhere. Yeah, it's been in the 20s here at night. I don't know, I guess that the OEM style plastic radiator finally decided to shit the bed, and it's just leaking out of the seam. Kind of sucks, but whatever. Probably gonna buy a full aluminum one because I got a P-pump Cummins sitting right over there that is gonna go in there. So the P-pump Cummins also has to do with these gauges because I bought the gauges to correspond for the engine. You know, it's a 5-speed truck. It's going to stay 5-speed. So I only needed fuel pressure, boost, and pyro. And then I also have 3 more gauges for my air ride. I have tank pressure, and then I have 2 dual needle gauges for the front left and right, rear left and right. Those are going to go in the console. Going to build something cool with that. I also got the momentary switches in today for the air ride. I'm going to build like a little piece that goes where the ashtray is in my truck. I don't smoke, so it's going to go right there. And I don't have a console because it's a 5-speed truck, so that's where it's going to go. The rest are going to go on the pillar. So I pulled off the stock pillar, and the where that? Oh, they're in here. My bad. The isspro gauges, the pod comes with these little plastic clips so that this thing can affix to your OEM piece very nicely. Goes on there. I drilled that hole. There's still one more I got to drill right here, and then I drilled one right there. And then these pieces, make sure it's nice and tight. And then in the back, I made marks where I need to cut holes to run all my wiring through. So these are the EV2 line of gauges, which are ispro's top of the line gauge. They're pretty nice. They're full electronic. You don't got to run any of that hard PVC line in for the mechanical gauges, which really simplifies the install process. Comes with everything you need. Comes with this. Comes with the sensor. You do have to build your own little pigtail, which isn't a big deal because they send you, it's only 5 wires. You know, 3 for the sensor, and then just power and ground for the gauge itself. There's a picture of the fuel pressure gauge. This is the first one I pulled out. Also comes with the dimmer switch, which is super fucking nice. This makes a complete package, in my opinion. When you have the gauges, you have the dimmer switch, you truly have everything you need to install. It makes it really nice instead of having to buy this here and buy this here and buy this here, and you're running around. And by the end of the process, you probably should have just bought them all at one place. Also included in the video this week, I'm gonna pull the gauge cluster, the OEM cluster, apart and put blue LED backlighting in there. What else we got? We got switches. These are actually going to be for all of my auxiliary lights, you know, the rock lights, the wheel ring lights, the bed lights. I'm going to do a star light, all that stuff. Everything needs to match. So I know that some of the companies of the rock lights and all that other stuff that I bought, they come with switches, but they're all different. Which they're all good switches, but I want them all to match, so that'll happen. Mic tuning. This is a 12 gang fuse panel. I bought this, you know, Mike Tuning, those super good guys over there, and they do take care of me. But when they have something that I like, I don't hesitate to hop on Amazon and go buy it. My Lexus right here. If you don't know about the Lexus, it's a LS swapped SC400. It's been a garage ornament for about a year now. I just kind of lost interest on it, but it ain't going nowhere. It made 600 on pump gas, and yeah, I have a Holley Terminator. I have a bigger turbo and E85 shit, and that's gonna happen soon. Gonna plan for 800 wheel, but you probably don't give a fuck about that car because you're here to watch my truck video, so I'll quit talking about it. This sheathing, I always, after I build out all my harnesses, I always loom them because exposed wiring in your engine bay looks like dog shit. And yeah, I'm guilty of it in previous builds, but this one I don't ever plan on selling. I don't plan on getting rid of it. I'm gonna keep this truck. It checks all the boxes. That's the reason why I sold the Dodge, is because it couldn't practically check all those boxes. Long bed, P-pump Cummins, 5-speed, crew cab, true 4-door. Those are my 4 main boxes, and the second gen Dodge wasn't gonna check those. So yeah, here we are, building the OBS, episode 5, gauges, what else? Label maker. If you're ever doing any wiring, it's cool to have one of these because you just throw a little label on there, you know, tuck it in the loom when you're all finished up. So if you ever do have a problem, you can come back in a year, 2 years, 5 years, and it's gonna be there, and you're gonna be able to see what it is, and you're not gonna have to power probe everything and try and figure it out. Label maker, that's a good addition to the garage. It's good for labeling anything your heart desires. But yeah, wanted to paint this today, couldn't paint it, so that'll get done tomorrow. Alright guys, day 2, got the pillar painted. I started installing the dimmer switch, and I'm going to do some other stuff. This paint came out pretty dang close. I don't know, in the picture it seems a lot further off than it was. This old one was pretty dingy and gross. I did clean it, but I don't know. I think it looks pretty dang close. I'm not going to trip on it. I'm very happy with it. So the butt connector for the dimmer switch, if you're stupid like me and always forget to put the heat shrink on, you can do this. Get some needle nose, put it in the heat shrink, and stretch it out. Then when you hit it with the lighter, it'll close up. My friend Brandon showed me this. I always thought I was fucked, and then I would electrical tape it, but if you stretch it out and then throw it on there, that works great. You can see I'm tapping into the dimmer switch, that white with a orange, or I'm sorry, white with a blue stripe. That's what this fuse is going to tie into. And here are those sweet Posi T-taps. I'm going to utilize those. So let's do some work. Alright guys, here's the back of the dimmer switch that isspro provided. Even though I have these labeled from the switch, this would be where I tapped into the dimmer switch and for the ignition 12 volts, and then this would go 2 gauges. Even though this is a orange wire and this is orange with the black, I still don't ever want to get those confused when I have to pull this off. Likewise with the fused 12 volts from the switch, and then fuse 12 volts to the gauges. What you do is you just offset them with male and female connections So obviously you match the colors and then you match the connections, and you'll never get them confused. But yeah, some of you may give me shit for these little bullet connectors. I've never had any issues with them. As long as you crimp them nicely, give them a good pull, and then I even throw some heat shrink on there. I don't think that there's anything wrong with a properly crimped connector. You know, high performance, you know, drag racing and other automotive entities, they always use crimped connections as opposed to soldering. And if you don't believe that, you can go check it out. But a well done crimp is just fine. So there's that. Let's move on. Well, here it is, and here's my practice. Never messed with this bead roller before. Today, I just set it up. I wanted this design right here, but I feel like that one is a little bit more complex than this. So I like this little inset. So this was just a little freehand deal that I did. Literally the first one. So I'm gonna try and just fucking go for it, and we'll see. Well, boys, I just went for it, and note to self, note to everyone else, these extra lines, if you're not using them, you need to erase those things, because I came around, started up here, whoop, going good, and then just went, I was like concentrated on staying on the line, and then just went, oop. So I just backed up and then finished it up. Alright, I'm on to do a video before I get too far along. These edges right here, I had to trim off because my shifter actually was going to hit this with it squared up. So, you know, where I messed up right there, I think I'll be able to pound it out and then hit it with the DA sander, this whole thing. And I don't know what finish I want to do. I know I had talked about brushed aluminum with a black line. I don't know, I might do this whole bottom black and then brush the outsides. I'm not quite sure. But this is what I wanted to talk about specifically for these switches. How to get them. Yeah, I know, that one's right on the line, but whatever, fuck it. Shows that one. So at least they look the same. But a Dremel. I always do the holes. I drill the holes with like a 16th drill bit just to get it all lined up, and then hit it with the Dremel cutoff wheel. I prefer like a 1/4 inch die grinder, but as my tool of choice. I think this is a little too wimpy for most of the shit I do, but for this it'll work perfect. So yeah, like I said, it ain't perfect, but fuck man, the whole truck ain't gonna be perfect. So what do they call it, self-made, not shop paid. Well guys, here it is. It's all finished up. I got the 3 gauges installed. This one's going to be tank pressure, and this is going to be front. It's a dual needle. This one's going to be rear. It's a dual needle. You got truck up, truck down, all 4 corners individually, up and down, and then we're going to have front up and front down right there. So I'll have full control. I only have one blue LED light hooked up just so you guys kind of get the idea. Blemish out, and if you don't watch this video, you'll probably never even know what happened. And this is just gonna bolt. Probably gonna, I don't know, I might go get some stainless steel button heads, you know, and it's gonna go to the frame of the ashtray in the OBS. And this fits right in there perfectly, and then the shifter still can click into 5th gear with no problem. I'll be able to see everything just with a quick glance down, but pretty happy with how it came out. This is my first time like ever messing with the bead roller, and yeah, let me know what you think. Leave a comment. I'm pretty excited about this. I like it, so I hope you all can enjoy it as well. Guys, so the blue Oxito T10 bulbs, they fit perfect in here. And the only thing about LEDs, as you should know, is they are polar, which means if you have the negative and positive switched around, they won't light up. So honestly, you just got to guess. I tried to figure out what side's negative and positive, and I spent more than 5 minutes on that and said fuck it, and just connected them in. There's only 5 bulbs for the illumination, so I put all 5 in, plugged it in real quick, turned my lights on, and only 3 were lit up. So the other 2, I flipped them 180 and they were good to go. 7mm gets the cluster out of the truck, and then I tried it because you know that there's green where the white is, and on the second gen the blue backlighting pretty much drowns out the green. Well, on the OBS it does not, so I'm gonna have to try and scrape that green off the back because I want a true blue. And then you got a 6mm to take this shit off, and I'm gonna dive into that right now. Alright guys, here I'm trying to put this in to the ashtray spot. See, what sucks is I honestly made these a little too wide. If I would have put these right next to each other, the back of this gauge right there, it actually hit right there on the edge, and I was gonna have to cut. Just so happens where this metal bracket bolts is where I needed to cut. So I said screw it, and I'm just going to mount it into here and then cut this plastic off and build a little bracket on the back side. So yeah, let's see how it goes. Alright y'all, there it is. I definitely don't like the socket cap Allens I have on there right now, so I will be putting stainless steel button heads on there. And then I'm going to take this off because I'm going to powder coat it probably black, the whole thing. I don't know, I think it's going to look better black down in there. And then that's a self tapper. I'm actually going to take it out and put an Allen head, the same style, on there. But it's pretty solid. You know, the whole dash starts moving if you want to pull up on it. But you know, 5th gear, there's plenty of room. And this is still with the 460. You know, everybody knows with the Fummin swap, I'm gonna probably get another inch, inch and a half, maybe even 2 inches. I gotta pull it back. So all in all, I really like it. I'm gonna take this off and I'll get a picture of the bracket that I did behind it. It's really nothing special. It just bridges the gap and then holds the sides on. It's pretty simple. But I'm gonna take it all off and connect the wiring. That's the wiring from my dimmer switch. See that isspro dimmer switch over there? Looks all buttery. Got the gauges all in there too. Or I'm sorry, the LEDs all in there, and I got the gauge cluster reinstalled. And yeah, see my dingy, dirty ass carpet. Don't worry, you're gonna go all black. All black and gray, everything. Here, show you my shitty headliner too. And that's why I bought a couple dome, Super Duty dome lights. One there and then one back there. Along with the Starry Night headliner. So yeah, here's kind of the first glimpse. I bought first glimpse of the truck interior. All right, got it all traced out on some 120 wall aluminum, and I'm just going to use my shear. All right, there's that. Just going to hit it on the belt sander, clean it up so it fits in that pedal pad nice and tight. So I got the holes drilled, and a metric 6 by 1.0 tap just seems to be my favorite speed tapping. Yeah. So here it is. Just tapped for the metric 6 1.0, and then what I'll do is I'll end up grinding these down nearly all the way. I'll leave a little bit of a flange on there. You know what I'm saying? So it's just gonna go on there. I'll put a nut with the little washer in the back and then slide it over because it fits in those little pockets perfect. Just like that. And 10 minutes to make this. Maybe 15 tops, but figured I'd throw it in. I'm gonna do some black powder coat, so I'll do that and get it done. Definitely saves me time from having to reorder the right one and exchange this one and return it, all that shit. So a little ingenuity, and 10 cents, 50 cents maybe with the bolts. I don't know, I have them lying around, so free to me. Alright guys, I'm not really trying to do a DIY on how I powder coat, but since I'm doing it, I'm just going to do a quick little run through. Here's my Eastwood dual voltage gun. I just throw this bitch in the vise, plug it in, and an old drop star box is my powder coat area. So the little connector goes onto here. I put my rack up here, hang my shit. I put a couple flashlights in here to get some light. And yeah, first I need to go put these parts in the oven out back. Flash over to my oven. There's the parts in there, and I like to get them up to about 350 degrees, and then I'll pull them out and powder coat them one by one and then hang them back in here and then start my timer for each one. You guys remember those Saratoga blue shackles I did? Yeah, that's how powder coat comes out. So all right, so I wear a respirator, so when I start to do this I'm not going to be able to talk, but I'm not doing Saratoga blue, I'm doing gloss black. It's loaded, and my air compressor is 6 psi, 7 psi. You don't need much. So what I'm doing with those parts baking out there, it's called hot flocking. So when I hook it up and put it on here, that powder will almost stick to it instantaneously. So preheated enough. That's good enough for me. By the time I get it over there, the temp will drop a little bit and it should hot flock real nice. I'm all cleaned up. The best part about powder coat is it's powder. So when you're done, you just blow it out with the air compressor, or you know, if the powder actually stays nice and clean, there's no contaminants like, I don't know, dirt, dust, hair, cardboard, whatever might get into the powder. You can actually put it back into your bag of powder and reuse it again. But let's go check on this stuff. Still got about 10 minutes on there. Well, here are the pieces out of powder coat. To get some, I wanted button head Allens, but you know, beggars can't be choosers, and this is what they had in stock, and I guess that'll be okay. If I don't like it, I'll probably order some online. But yeah, here it is. You know, don't judge me on this bracket too hard. It's going to be under the dash. Nobody's ever going to see it, but it was just a rusty piece of metal, kind of similar to what I use on my bench tops. You know, if it gets fucked up, it don't matter. Here's the pedal pad. At the last minute, I'm like, man, how am I going to put a piece of metal to hang this while I powder coat it? So I just drilled a hole in it. You'll never see it, you'll never know. So that'll go on there, and I'm actually not going to take the powder coat off because it's so tight. I'm just gonna put a nut on there and hit it down with little bit of force and it'll stay. And then here's the panel. Came out pretty good. I was gonna do like a two-tone deal, but nah, fuck that. I just want to get it on. All right, gauges are all hooked up. And there's that bracket. You see the piece that I cut off, and then I just put a screw in there. It holds it together pretty nice, you know. So, well, while I'm thinking about it, I'll address this because a couple people have asked, why am I putting the gauges in? Well, yeah, I still have the gas or engine in there, and I don't really care because the 12 valve is going in. I got these gauges and I'm gonna go ahead and put them in. I don't like having to do things twice. So with the air horn going in, I needed to install my air gauges. And I also want to install the horn switch, and the gauges are gonna be tied into all the other gauges. So instead of doing everything once and then tearing it apart and tapping into the wires and then doing the rest of the gauges, I figured I would just knock them all out at once. And now that stuff I don't ever have to get into again. I just got to connect the switches up, but all the gauges are done. I just got to connect sending units to them, and when the 12 valve's in, they'll be ready to rock. And it's just one less thing I have to do when the swap comes around, because the swap's going to be pretty labor intensive as it is. And you know me, I don't work too fast. I work full time and have a wife and kid, so yeah, it is what it is. They're installed now. Don't cry about it. Yeah, it's a gasser, but I bought this truck with 100% intentions on doing a 12 valve swap. 12 valve is in my garage and it is going to get put in. It's a matter of time, and I just don't want to do shit twice. Do it once, do it right. And I just feel like I'd be backtracking if I had to put more gauges in after putting these air gauges in, and it's just not something I wanted to do. So there's that, and there's that. Well, there we go, boys. It's all done, finally. Let's check it out. Let's see. The gauges right there. And bam. So there's the cluster. All done. Got the blue LED backlights. You really can't tell, but I put yellow Sharpie on there and then red. I guess you kind of can in the video. It's much more prevalent not in the video. But here we go. We got the gauges hooked up. And the filler gauges all blue.